next one. You may have had a follow-up question, but I think I overstepped you. So if you wanted to
It is
ask,
2 o'clock on the East
I'll
Coast.
give
I'm
you that
Zach Merchant in the 11Alive Plus Streaming Center. We're following this press conference out of Arizona in day 5 of the disappearance of Nancy Guthrie. Let's continue to listen in.
There is no communication that follows up since you received it. Like, what's that timeline where you say, no proof of life, there's no more, this is incredible?
I think we start to look at what the deadlines were in the note. First, I think, was 5 o'clock today, and then it had a second deadline after that. So we are continuing. In a normal kidnapping case, there would be contact by now, trying to discuss that. But those are the timeframes we are looking at as we move forward.
Are you able to say that second deadline that was given?
I don't have that with me right now. So thank you.
Sorry about that.
Sure.
Entertainment Tonight, Denny Directo.
Yes, my question actually is for Agent Yonke. There was a report that said the ransom came from an email and that the FBI was actually looking into that IP address. Any updates on that?
Nothing that I can release. Thank you.
And then also, there's also conflicting reports about who was the last person to actually see Nancy and drive her home. We know she took an Uber to Annie's house, but can you confirm whether it was Annie or her son-in-law Tommaso who took her home that night?
I think the timeline that the sheriff provided was a family member, but
just family. We're going to go with family.
Record TV, Vandry Piera.
Sir, we are foreign nationals, so we're not familiar with the area, so since that is a remote area. So my question is, why is it so hard to track a car or something suspicious that have passed through the area at that night? How difficult it is, because probably cameras around or something?
Yeah, you're talking about the challenges we face in some of being in a rural area like this. Those are challenges we face all the time. We'd love it to have all the cameras in what we would consider a more urban nature type area. But once you get out into the community, that's not the only part of Tucson that is that way. And we just find ways to overcome those challenges. We don't just disregard it. We still look at ways to find for example, ring cameras that might catch just a piece of something. It goes by, it doesn't catch the whole car. Those kinds of things. We don't give up. We still go out.
But not at least a car that came out at that night?
I can't.
Far away, like miles from the house.
We have cameras all over, and those things are being reviewed.
Arizona Republic, Richard Relas.
Oh, I'm a different person, don't pretend.
Did he get two?
It's the second one.
Was that you?
Oh, sorry.
No.
All right. Thank you guys for keeping us honest. No, you already asked your question, so we're gonna go to the New York Times with Reese. And I apologize for getting your name wrong here, Reese. Tebow?
No, you're close.
Tebow.
Hi, Sharon.
Hi.
The 212, the camera that detected movement at 212, was that a different camera than the one that was disconnected at 147, and where was it pointing?
We don't know that. We don't know which camera that was. When we did the software, it just told us that a person was detected. But I'm unaware of which camera that
So
was.
there were multiple cameras, and you're not sure.
Sure. There were multiple cameras at the home.
Okay. And is there a possibility that this is not a ransom situation, and if so, what else could it be?
Your guess is good as mine. I would say absolutely there's a possibility that this is nothing to do with a kidnapping. But we cover all angles. We're not going to dismiss something until we actually know for a fact that it's one way or the other.
People Magazine, we have Danielle Walker.
Close enough. So I wanted a little more clarity to follow up on his. Is there anything more you can say? Was this actually targeted or not? Do you have any?
That's why we have the FBI to look at those areas where there may have been a target. Maybe it is a kidnapping. But no, we don't have anything to rule that out or to say it is.
And as far as the ransom notes, there was a part in there about Bitcoin. Are you looking into that now, investigating?
Yes, that's part of the investigation.
Can you go and elaborate any further if you found anything, or if there's any ties or any suspects tied to that Bitcoin?
There is not at this time.
Associated Press, Sajal Govindera.
Hi, Sharon.
Just to follow up to a
You're
prior.
Joe?
I'm sorry?
You're Joe?
Goldendera.
Oh, I thought you said
Sejal.
Joe. Okay.
Just to follow up to a prior question, you had said early in the investigation that authorities don't believe Nancy Guthrie was targeted. Why don't authorities think that Nancy Guthrie was targeted?
Who said that? Who said they didn't
You had
think
said
she?
that early in the investigation.
Boy, if I said I absolutely misspoke. I've never thought she was or wasn't targeted. We've always believed that is certainly a possibility. I mean, you'd be silly not to think that. Somebody disappears in the middle of the night out of their home. You can understand where I'm coming from. But no, if I said that, obviously I misspoke or maybe somebody misheard me. But I've never believed that she was or was not a target.
Is there anything more specific you can say about what you believe the motive to be for this kidnapping at this time?
Motive's always going to be a question, and we'll know more as we go what that motive is. But right now, my guesswork is as good as yours.
And can you
And
talk
then
a
we
little bit?
also have, the final one will be from KVOA here in Tucson, Monica Garcia.
Okay, so let's talk about that 5 p.m. Did you say 5 p.m. deadline today? Is that the deadline? Oh, maybe that's for the FBI.
Yes.
Can you just give us some sound on that? Because that's a big deal. That's within hours about that 5 p.m. deadline per the ransom note. And then what's supposed to happen after that?
So the ransom note that was distributed to the media did make a demand for 5 p.m. today. And if a transfer wasn't made, then I think a second demand was for next Monday. We're not going to go beyond that, but that was the ransom note the media received.
Did it indicate what would happen if they didn't meet that ransom? Did they?
We're not going to go into those specifics. Thank you.
5 p.m. Eastern, I'm sorry, I know it's not Arizona, just 5 p.m.
I don't.
It's 5 p.m.
And then, sorry about that, Inside Edition, Jim Murray.
Special Agent Yonke, given the fact that the FBI participated in the creation of this family video, does that suggest your belief that the author or authors of that ransom note in fact have Nancy Guthrie?
Again, we're taking the ransom note serious, and we are following that part of the investigation.
And does the fact that there is a ransom note suggest to you that Nancy Guthrie was taken specifically because she's Savannah's mom?
There's nothing to indicate that.
Thank you guys so much for all of your questions. The sheriff does have just one more note about what happens next year, or what doesn't happen next.
Well, it's what happens for us is we're going to continue working. For you though, I hope this worked out well for you. But right now, I have no plans to schedule any further press conferences unless we have some real evidence or something to bring up to you. It's pretty pointless to just keep hounding the same things over and over. And as Special Agent in Charge Yonke said, please give us some space, and that's not just physical space. Give us some space, give my team some time, because these things do take time and they are difficult. And everybody out there is really working hard. And mistakes are going to be made. And if I made them, mea culpa. It won't be the first mistake I've ever made. But more important than me is we want Nancy back. That's the key. Okay? So thank you very much, and thank you for your concern in this.
Thank you. If you're looking for the other person that was up here, it was...
Okay, we are just wrapping up following this breaking news, another press conference out of Pima County, Arizona, now on day 5 of the disappearance of Nancy Guthrie, the 84-year-old mother of Today Show co-anchor Savannah Guthrie. You were just listening to Pima County Sheriff Chris Nanos give some updates in this case alongside the special agent in charge of the FBI Phoenix, Arizona field office, Heath Yonke. If you caught the back end of that press conference with us and have not seen the full thing, let me get you up to speed on the big updates there. Authorities still not publicly identifying a suspect. They have also confirmed that ransom notes, as had been reported, were sent to several media organizations, but the authorities, the FBI special agent in charge there and the sheriff, they say that those notes have not been substantiated at this point, but they are, as they said throughout the briefing, looking into all leads and continue to look into all leads. The sheriff also said that blood was found on the porch outside Nancy Guthrie's home. DNA tests, he says, have confirmed that DNA matched Nancy Guthrie. We should note here, too, yesterday, Savannah Guthrie posted alongside her siblings a message on social media pleading for more information from her mother's possible kidnapper, saying that the family is ready to talk and asking for proof that she is alive. Authorities say they continue to follow every lead that they get in this case, but so far Nancy Guthrie still not located, a suspect not yet publicly identified. I do want to also walk you through a little bit more of a detailed timeline that authorities offered in that press briefing here. And this is going to be fairly detailed, but it's worth walking through it. So this is according to authorities in that press briefing. Nancy Guthrie left her home to go to her family's at 5:32 p.m. on Saturday, returned home at 9:48 p.m., according to authorities in this briefing. The garage door opened at approximately 9:48 p.m., closed 2 minutes later. At that point, authorities assume that she was home. Her doorbell camera was disconnected at 1:47 a.m. Sunday morning, so in the very early morning hours after Nancy Guthrie got home on Saturday night. Authorities say software detected a person on a camera at 2:12 a.m., but there is no video available. At 2:28 a.m., Nancy Guthrie's pacemaker disconnected from her personal device. The next morning, her family went to check on her just before noon and discovered that she was missing, according to Sheriff Nanos. And then a call to 911 was made just after noon. Deputies arrived about 10 minutes later, according to authorities, and that is when this search really began. So authorities, understandably, spending a lot of time trying to parse out exactly what happened in those overnight hours between Saturday night when Nancy Guthrie got home and Sunday morning when she was reported missing. We are, of course, going to continue alongside you, alongside all of us, to follow this case out of Pima County, Arizona, and any new updates, we will bring them to you right here on 11Alive and 11Alive Plus. We're going to turn now to a look at our forecast here in Metro Atlanta after a few days of some cold over the weekend. Things trending a little warmer now. Our Nicole Hartford has an up-to-the-minute update.
Temperatures are noticeably cooler today behind a cold front that left us with a few areas of drizzle and even snow flurries earlier this morning. Not much more of that expected throughout the day, but cloud cover has still been very slow to clear. We will eventually begin introducing more sunshine as the afternoon progresses. High pressure will be taking over very slowly through the course of the rest of the week as well as into the weekend, which means dry conditions and warmer temperatures eventually. In fact, that ridge of high pressure is going to keep things really dry across the southeast throughout the next few days. We've got no rain chances in the forecast until about the middle of next week. Our forecast track shows the clearing cloud cover, so we'll start mixing in some sunshine as we get closer to the sunset especially, and keep that clearing going through the overnight hours. So by the time you wake up tomorrow morning, conditions are clear and cool, but still comfortable. Definitely going to need coats for kids at the bus stop tomorrow morning. Overnight low temperatures will be getting down into the 20s and low 30s as we wake up on Friday. That combination of colder air, clear skies, and calming winds will lead to a pretty cold start as we end out this week. But like I mentioned, warmer temperatures are on the horizon. So by the time kids are getting out to the bus stop tomorrow morning, we'll be right around that 30-degree mark. Nice and bright, though, as the sun rises, so temperatures will warm up pretty nicely throughout the day on Friday. In fact, our high temperatures will be climbing up into the mid mid to even upper 50s. Temperatures will take a little bit of a roller coaster as we go into this upcoming weekend. A weak cold front will bring another little blast of some cooler air, dropping our highs down into the 40s and low 50s for Saturday. But we're back up to the upper 50s by Sunday, and then high temperatures are in the 60s, pushing 70 by Monday and Tuesday. We'll kick off next week on a much warmer note, but those morning temperatures do stay cool.
Our thanks to meteorologist Nicole Hartford for that update. We're going to turn now to Georgia's capital, where it was Latino Day under the Gold Dome. Our cameras were there to capture it.
As you know, we are in the midst of the Georgia legislative sessions, and it's a very short period of time. It's only 3 months. After that, we're done legislating, and so the elected officials stop working. And so the point is to take advantage of these 3 short months to get Latino community members to show up, to get to know their legislators, to participate in the process. In our countries, we don't usually have access to these types of interactions with our legislators, with elected officials. And so a lot of Latino community members, again, don't have that habit, and so we want to make sure that they feel comfortable getting to the Capitol, entering the Capitol, talking to the legislators about what they want their community to look like, because we're part of community, we build community, and so we also have a say in how we want it to look like.
You were just listening to Pedro Viloria, who is with the Latino Community Fund there. You see the groups gathered outside the Capitol for a day of lifting up Latino voices under the Gold Dome. As Pedro rightly pointed out, it is a short session. It's only 40 days of legislating days. It takes about 3 months on the calendar, but those days go by quickly. Lawmakers with lots of priorities, sometimes competing priorities under the Gold Dome. We are going to turn now to Stephanie Zanker, who is with the Libra Initiative of Georgia. Stephanie, thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
So it is Latino Day under the Gold Dome, and your organization, your work focuses on elevating the voices of Georgia's Latino population.
We do, yeah. So the Libra Initiative focuses on advancing the opportunity and prosperity for the Latino community in Georgia and nationwide. So we actually have chapters in 13 different states, and I'm the director of the chapter here in Georgia. And we do this in a variety of different ways. So we do advocacy, we teach Latinos about the importance of civics, and we also give them the tools to be able to succeed and achieve their American dream.
What should people know about your work under the Capitol, particularly as we're starting to get into the meat of this legislative session?
Absolutely. So there are, a variety of different ways that Latinos can interact with their legislators. They can go directly to the Capitol. They can call their legislators, stop into their offices, and that's something that, we had another Hispanic Day at the Capitol yesterday, and we brought, over 70 Latinos there, and many of them were absolutely in awe at how easy it is to go to the Capitol, how easy it is to speak to their representatives, and that civic engagement is something that's been traditionally challenging for Latinos that have arrived at this country. So the Libra Initiative aims to connect them to their representatives and to these policies that directly lead to their prosperity, regulatory reform, housing affordability, and a variety of others.
What are the, and this is a question we like to ask a lot of our guests, what are the biggest challenges facing Georgia's Latino community, and what are the biggest opportunities right now?
So right now, cost of living is a big deal. Latinos are looking for policies that are going to drive down those costs, tax relief that are going to allow them to keep more of their hard-earned money in their pockets. Latinos are a very entrepreneurial, hardworking community, and they're looking for policies that are going to give them relief in their pocketbooks. And we advocate for a variety of different bills during session. Regulatory reform, as I mentioned before. Right now we're actually working on Senate Bill 427, which would increase the pathway for internationally licensed physicians to be able to practice here. And Latinos face barriers to getting affordable health care and also options in health care in rural and underserved areas. So this would help with that. And what we do at the Libra Initiative is connect them to these policies and help them use their voice.
The states and the nation's immigration enforcement policies and tactics have also been center stage in our political discourse lately. What should constituents, what should people know about Libra's stance on that issue?
Yeah, so we focus on a 2-pillar approach, and that is the importance of securing the border, and then also the importance of getting comprehensive immigration reform, because that's something that we haven't seen since the Reagan years, since the 80s, right? So we need to create clear and effective legal pathways, and the Latino community supports this too. So the Latino community here, many of them, you know, most of the Latinos that are here illegally, and they came in, but now the system is so disorganized that we need a congressional and permanent solution.
In Georgia, the Latino population, correct me if I'm wrong, but it has been growing in recent years. Is that correct?
Absolutely, yeah. So the Georgia Latino population is 11% of the entire population of the state, and it's actually been growing at a much faster pace than the national average. And Latinos are very entrepreneurial, as I mentioned before, and so we contribute culturally and economically to the state, and it's important to continue to, you know, to give us a voice and a platform.
The legislature is diversifying now too, right? This is, if I understand correctly, in some respects, the most diverse the state legislature has been in some time.
It's really, really important to have a diverse legislature, absolutely, because there are different cultural experiences and perspectives, and that makes sure that, you know, everybody's interests are heard and everyone has opportunity to achieve prosperity.
Does Libre, do you feel like you are being heard at the Capitol?
I think so, absolutely. Just yesterday, I testified at a bill. You know, we have our own legislative agenda. We've been handing those out to legislators, and Representative Ray Martinez, yesterday at Hispanic Day at the Capitol, read a resolution basically celebrating the contributions of the Latino community in Georgia.
What do you think people should know about Libre and your work and the community you represent that you think maybe a lot of people don't know?
So Libre Initiative is out there talking directly to the community members. You know, we're going to homes, we're talking to Latinos about the issues that matter to them, and I encourage you to get involved. You know, call your state representative, get involved with us. We have a lot of opportunities for volunteering, part-time opportunities as well, and you know, we organize many trips to the Capitol throughout the session, and that's a way that we can increase the civic participation in the Latino community, which is not only great, but it's, you know, it's a responsibility. And so that's one of my main priorities, is showing them that they do have a voice and helping them connect to civics.
And if people do want to connect, like you said, what specific concrete projects, avenues of participation does Libre offer?
So yeah, we do a lot. We host events.
We got time. The floor is yours.
We host many events. So we do advocacy tied to the policies that we promote. We also do a lot of free classes. So through our sister organization, the Libre Institute, we offer free ESL classes. We're currently doing...
That's English as a second language.
English as a second language, correct. We're currently doing a level 2 in Lilburn, Georgia, which is, you know, about in a church about 5 minutes away from the new office that we just opened inside of Plaza Las Americas, which is right there in the middle of Gwinnett, right in the middle of the Latino community. And we aim to do civics classes and citizenship classes as well this year. And all of our classes are free. So we give tools to the Latino community, and we also offer volunteer opportunities and trips to the Capitol. So the sky's the limit, pretty much. Any way you want to get involved, we can pretty much offer that for you.
All right. Stephanie Zanker with the Libre Initiative of Georgia. Stephanie, thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
And we are going to turn now to the White House press briefing room, where Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt is at the podium delivering her daily briefing. Let's listen in.
Thanks to President Trump. An El Salvadorian national and known MS-13 associate, previously convicted of homicide, conspiracy to commit homicide, and kidnapping, arrested for arson, battery, armed carjacking, and assault. He entered illegally in 2016, was released by the Obama administration, and ICE just arrested him on January 8th, 2026. This example shows you how many criminal illegal aliens have been roaming American streets freely because of a lack of attention to this matter from the previous administration, and President Trump is cleaning up their mess. A Cuban national and blood gangs member convicted of multiple homicides and robbery. ICE arrested him on October 27th and removed him on January 6th, 2026. Arresting and deporting these types of illegal criminals is precisely what the American people voted for. And despite desperate recent attempts by Democrats and those in the media to undermine the president's deportation agenda, these efforts are failing. Brand new Harvard-Harris polling shows overwhelming support for President Trump's efforts to protect law-abiding citizens from criminal illegal aliens. Nearly 8 in 10 Americans say criminal illegal aliens should be deported. A solid majority also support deporting all illegal aliens, regardless of additional crimes. And more than 2 in 3 Americans back the Trump administration's common sense requirement that state and local officials cooperate with federal authorities and work to hand over criminal illegal aliens in local jails for swift deportation. Finally, to prevent another invasion of millions of illegal aliens from happening again, President Trump and Secretary Noem delivered the most secure border in American history. 0 illegal aliens were released into our homeland over the past 9 months. This is a truly remarkable achievement. Again, 0 illegal aliens released into the country in 9 months. This is staggering, and it deserves more attention from all of you. Overall, Customs and Border Protection recorded the lowest total encounters in agency history. Daily encounters have fallen by 95%, averaging just 250 apprehensions at the southern border a day. This is compared to over 5,100 daily apprehensions during the Biden years. It's a night and day difference because we finally have a president who enforces the law and lets our law enforcement do their noble jobs of protecting our homeland. When President Trump campaigned on making America safe again, this is exactly what he meant, and the numbers and the results speak for themselves. With that, I will open it up to questions today. We're going to start with Daniel Baldwin from One America News, who is here religiously covering the White House beat every day, so it's good to see you in a chair instead of standing up. Today, Daniel, thanks for being here, and why don't you kick us off?
Thank you, Caroline. It's an honor and a privilege to represent One American News in the new media seat. First question on that DHS funding bill. Funding runs out in the better part of 8 days or so. Democrats, at least verbally, are very dug in. What does the White House believe their end goal is when it comes to this funding fight, when it comes to immigration policy at large? What is their end goal when they're dug in a position like this at this point in time?
Well, the president has 2 end goals. One is to obviously keep the government funded and open, and that includes the Department of Homeland Security, which does not just touch upon ICE and Border Patrol, but also FEMA, the United States Coast Guard, the United States Secret Service. These are brave public servants who work to protect our homeland. The president wants these individuals to get paid. Secondly, when it comes to any discussions about immigration policy, the president is never going to waver in his commitment to allow immigration enforcement efforts in this country and to support ICE and Border Patrol and the deportation of illegal alien criminals. I know Senator Schumer and Leader Jeffries sent over a very long list of demands, some of which the administration is willing to discuss. Others don't seem like they are grounded in any common sense, and they are non-starters for this administration, but we're not going to negotiate policy from the podium. I'm going to allow the president to do that, and any final decisions that are made will be made ultimately by him. But rest assured, he is never going to allow law enforcement in the jobs that they do, the important jobs that they do, to be undermined.
And secondly, Caroline, the Department of Homeland Security put out a tweet a better part of an hour ago alleging that an illegal alien was involved in a major car wreck in Indiana, killing 4 people, and they allege that the suspect in question came in under the CBP-1 app under the Biden administration and received a commercial driver's license from the state of Pennsylvania. What is the White House's reaction to a situation like this? And what is the White House doing to crack down on cases like this where illegal aliens are obtaining commercial driver's licenses?
Yes, this is another abhorrent example of the border crisis over the past 4 years, and it again exemplifies why the administration must continue and will always continue to fully back and support ICE and Border Patrol and law enforcement in their removal of illegal alien criminals from our country. For those who don't know, and all of you should report on it, 4 Americans were tragically killed and lost their lives this week yet again from an illegal alien, an individual who was paroled into the country by the Biden administration using the CBP-1 app, which they created like it was a magic pass for Disneyland. That's not how immigration in this country should work. And this illegal alien from Kyrgyzstan was traveling on an Indiana highway, and he failed to brake for a slowed semi-truck in front of him. He swerved into the lane, and he crashed into a van carrying 15 passengers, and 4 people were killed in that crash. This is another tragedy that could have been prevented if not for the wide open borders from the previous administration. That's why we now have a secure border. That's why this administration will continue to deport illegal aliens from our country. Thank you for being here. Garrett.
John, thank you for your comments and your prayers for the Guthrie family. I have two questions related to the president's interview with NBC yesterday.
Sure.
At one point in the interview, the president said that he believes states are accumulating the votes for who wins the election. He says if they, meaning the states, can't do it honestly and can't be done properly and timely, then something else has to happen. What did he mean by that? Is he suggesting that the federal government count votes in elections?
What the president is suggesting, and I just spoke to him about this, is that Republicans and Democrats in Congress should pass the Save America Act. This piece of legislation is going to ensure that states are abiding by federal election law by removing non-citizens from their voter rolls. In addition, the Save America Act will require voter ID to vote, and it will require proof of citizenship to register to vote. These are very common sense policies and proposals that 89% of our country agree with. So that's what the president is talking about. Again, I just spoke with him about this, and he's calling on both Republicans and Democrats to send the Save America Act, to pass it into law and to send it to his desk as quickly as possible.
The SAVE Act doesn't say anything about who counts votes, which has always been a state, a local, a county function. Why does he keep talking about somebody else, presumably the federal government, counting votes?
Because the SAVE Act directs states to remove non-citizens from their voter rolls. And we know in states across the country, the president is right to point this out, in states like California or in places like New York City, non-citizens are allowed to vote in state and local elections. And the federal government should absolutely do away with that. I don't think a single person in this room, if you really are being honest with yourselves, should agree that non-citizens should vote in American elections, no matter where that election is up and down the ticket. And so this is a piece of federal legislation that will help states ensure the integrity and the sanctity of their elections, and that's what the president wants. Peter.
Thanks, Caroline. President Trump posted about Nancy Guthrie that he is directing all federal law enforcement to be at the family's and local law enforcement's complete disposal immediately. What should we expect to see from the federal government in coming days in the search to find Nancy Guthrie?
It's a very good question, Peter, and it's why I was on the phone with the FBI earlier this morning to ask that. And what they told me is that the FBI, again, is at the disposal of the state and local government. Whatever personnel or assets or resources that the state and local authorities and police need will be granted to them at the direction of the president, the FBI director, and the attorney general.
A different law enforcement issue. The FBI just found 1,000 samples inside an illegal biolab in Las Vegas. It is linked to a different biolab that was previously raided. There are ties to China. What does the president think the CCP might be up to here?
I haven't spoken to him about this specific investigation from the FBI, but I'm happy to, and I'm sure he's very glad that this is something the FBI discovered, and we'll make sure anyone who is involved in illegal activity will be held accountable.
And just one more about this weekend. At the Mar-a-Lago Super Bowl party, after the first two quarters, are the TVs going to be on the halftime show with Bad Bunny or the halftime show with Kid Rock?
I think the president would much prefer a Kid Rock performance over Bad Bunny, I must say that. Jennifer.
On the nuclear arms pact, we saw the president's post on that.
Yes.
But can you say, is there a temporary agreement with Russia to stand by the terms of the New START treaty while negotiations are happening?
And we are listening in right now to White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt delivering her daily briefing. You just heard her answer a question about the Super Bowl halftime, the Super Bowl that is this Sunday on NBC here on 11Alive. The NBC nightly news anchor Tom Llamas sat for an interview with President Donald Trump. Part of it will be airing during the Super Bowl halftime show. This is a preview of some of that interview.
Hi there. President Trump, not backing down on immigration, said he still wants to expand his crackdown, but wants to be invited in future operations and doesn't want his administration to force its way into a city.
I want the last one.
President Trump in an exclusive sit-down with NBC's Tom Llamas, reflecting on what he's learned through weeks of uproar over his administration's immigration crackdown in Minneapolis.
Maybe we can use a little bit of a softer touch, but you still have to be tough. These are criminals. We're dealing with really hardcore criminals.
That after the president's border czar announced 700 federal immigration agents are withdrawing from Minnesota, aiming to end the surge in manpower, but not the mission.
We're not backing down at all. I said today mass deportations will continue.
While Democrats are pushing to formalize major changes to immigration enforcement before Department of Homeland Security funding runs out next week.
It's got to rein in ICE in very serious ways. And if they're not serious and they don't put in real reform, they shouldn't expect our votes.
President Trump also addressing bipartisan pushback over his recent comments about nationalizing elections in some places, despite the Constitution dictating that states run elections.
We can't allow cheating in elections. Now, if we need to put in federal controls as opposed to state controls, remember this, they're really an agent.
The president repeating his debunked claims of widespread fraud in the 2020 election amid the FBI's controversial seizure of 2020 ballots in Fulton County, Georgia.
They're going to look at him, and now they're going to find out the true winner of that state.
There is no evidence Georgia's results were marred by fraud, and a hand count of ballots confirmed the results shortly after the election. On the economy, President Trump said he expects interest rates to come down and that his pick to lead the Federal Reserve wouldn't have gotten the offer had he said he wanted to raise rates. And while noting that he believes the central bank is, quote, in theory, an independent body, the president suggested he knows the economy better than almost anybody and the Fed should follow his lead. In Washington, I'm Alice Barr. Back to you.
So as you heard from Alice Barr there in that report, a preview of some of the conversation you'll hear in Tom Yamas's interview with President Trump at the Super Bowl halftime. One theme that is important to continue tracking is the funding question for the Department of Homeland Security. The partial government shutdown is now over, but the funding bill that reopened fully the federal government only included funding for 2 weeks for the Department of Homeland Security that oversees ICE and other federal immigration enforcement entities. Democrats and Republicans in Congress at odds over how ICE, how the Department of Homeland Security should be conducting itself. There is a question of how these two sides will manage to find some common ground to continue the funding for the Department of Homeland Security. As part of that conversation about immigration enforcement, there is an ongoing conversation happening right here in Metro Atlanta. The city of Social Circle is preparing for an increasingly likely looking ICE facility to be purchased and built in the city of Social Circle. Our Dan Kennedy right here in the 11Alive Plus streaming center breaks down all you need to know right now.
So it appears the federal government is full steam ahead on this ICE detention facility in Social Circle. In fact, the news breaking yesterday that it could open in as little as 8 weeks, possibly just a couple months away. Check out this Facebook post from the city of Social Circle detailing a call with Congressman Mike Collins and his staff. He told the city that the property in question is currently in escrow and moving toward final purchase by the U.S. Department of Homeland Security. This is a look at that massive warehouse-type facility in question. The congressman says it was initially an alternate location, but now considered the preferred site. We told you back in January the town is fighting back. Some residents protesting, like you see here. Some rallied at a town hall in opposition. The mayor warns that facility could triple the town's population overnight. Officials argue the infrastructure there at the city just can't handle the strain on water, sewer, and public safety. And to that extent, the city says that DHS is looking into the impact on utilities. And DHS apparently right now working on an economic review, an economic impact report. Although the city of Social Circle says they were not consulted on that. They have not been included in that evaluation and planning process. So more to come in this story. But for now, it appears it is full steam ahead on making this a reality for the Department of Homeland Security and turning that warehouse into an ICE detention facility there in Social Circle.
That is our Dan Kennedy with that update. We, as always, are tracking a lot of stories developing right now as we approach 2:40 in the afternoon on the East Coast. A tough story out of DeKalb County. 4 people killed in an overnight fire there. We're following the latest on the investigation into the cause of that fire. We are also now on day 4 of the murder trial in the case of Tara Baker. She's the 23-year-old University of Georgia law student killed in 2001. Prosecutors have now brought a murder charge against a man. He has pleaded not guilty. The case is now ongoing inside of a Clark County Superior Court before the jury. They are now hearing their 4th day of testimony. We'll bring you live inside the courtroom in just a little bit. We're going to take a quick break right now. We'll be right back. Welcome back into the 11Alive Plus Streaming Center. We're marking a big milestone here. It is now 100 years of Black History Month. We are celebrating this month of February. Danielle Nottingham joining us now in the streaming studio. Danielle, this is the centennial.
Yeah, you know, it's kind of funny. When we were talking about it, we had no idea it had been 100 years. And so my first question was, well, what happened 100 years ago? How did it become a thing, a month, and all of the stuff? And so we just did a little digging, a little history lesson to figure out where it all started. And I think the big part of this is that it's a legacy that still matters a century later.
And you talk about the digging, looking into the history. You've got a great piece on this. Let's listen in.
It was 1926 when historian Dr. Carter G. Woodson launched Negro History Week. The Virginia native was the second African American to earn a PhD from Harvard and believed the contributions of Black Americans were being ignored.
It was not intended to be the only time we're acknowledging or celebrating Black history. It's intended to be a collective celebration. Right?
Dr. Lanice Littleton from the Atlanta History Center says this happened at the same time Atlanta was emerging as a center of Black intellectual life and activism.
The first Black senator,
W.E.B. Du Bois, the first Black Harvard doctorate, taught at Atlanta University, now Clark Atlanta, where his scholarship helped legitimize the academic study of Black history.
Being the premier historian of his time, as well as one of the greatest thinkers in American history. Like, he set the tone for Atlanta to really be the hub of Black history.
Little told history includes the Atlanta washerwomen,
One of my favorite stories in Atlanta's history,
who went on strike in 1881 demanding fair wages for doing laundry.
Jefferson Long.
And in politics, Jefferson Long became the first Black representative to speak on the floor of the U.S. House.
Who was the first Black congressman elected during Reconstruction from Georgia. There was 100 years between his election and the election of Andrew Young.
It wasn't until 1976 that Negro History Week evolved into Black History Month.
I think it's as important now as it was in 1926, and that 100-year anniversary just signifies that we have to keep going for another 100 years, and that there are undertold stories that need to be told.
And Black History Month received congressional recognition a decade later. In Buckhead, Danielle Nottingham, 11Alive News.
And if you're thinking, why February, right? Woodson, his idea was he wanted to celebrate the birthdays of Abraham Lincoln and abolitionist Frederick Douglass.
And that is how February became the month.
The month, yeah.
Danielle, what a remarkable look at the history and the evolution of this month of legacy and looking forward and looking backward. I want to ask you this, as you got a chance to look at the history, as we were watching the piece, we were remarking on those old photos and just the stories that they tell. What stood out to you as you were really engrossed in the history here?
It's been really cool just to learn about the history of Atlanta, because Atlanta didn't birth a lot of these movements, but when we all think of Atlanta, we think it's the cradle of Black history, of civil rights. So how did that all happen? So to me, it was very fascinating how it started up north with men who went to Harvard, went to University of Chicago, and it kind of trickled down here because they came here for education to teach. Because if you think back in the early 1900s, where was the space? So even in the piece, the historian that I spoke to, Lenise, she was saying untold stories in Atlanta, and she was so excited about the washerwomen of 1881.
Tell us more.
Yeah, I know. She was like, little known. These were women who did laundry for people in Atlanta. And they were like, we want fair wages. We want to be treated with respect. They went on strike. So imagine July 1881. Your laundry isn't getting done, right? So you've got diapers, you got all kinds of stuff going on.
Heat of the summer.
The heat of the summer.
Heat of the southern summer.
And the laundry is piling up. And she was like, the smell was so bad that they came to a resolution, but there was a caveat. They had to pay $25 for a license to wash clothes. So think if you're making, $5 a day, and then you're hit with a $25 license. So I think it's an example of what we talk about, institutional racism, right? How that starts. So Zach, there were just so many cool stories just learning about that. And we were saying off camera for a second, between Andrew Young and Jefferson Long, 100 years before, a Black man was 100 years before the first and then the next that we know.
And we were talking too, you just think about the courage it took to be Jefferson Long and to be the first right after Reconstruction to go to Washington. It kind of makes the hairs in the back of your neck stand up a little bit.
Yeah, he only lasted a couple of months. I think we can all can assume why, but he was a tailor and he was born to enslaved parents and
became a congressman.
And this was, for people at the time, it's like they felt like this is what you had to do for self-determination, to live, to be there. So a big thank you to the Atlanta History Center. They provided a lot of the photos, and by coincidence, they're also celebrating 100 years. So I also asked them, I'm like, it's very coincidental, 100 years there, 100 years here, and they're like, they have synergy. And going back to the washerwomen, if you think about 1881, that was the year Spelman College was founded. It was the year Morris Brown College was founded. So a lot of these things were happening at the same time, and really made Atlanta like the centerpiece of a lot of this.
Let me ask you this question. We could talk about this for a long time.
Yeah,
and
for
it's
sure.
the good news. We have some time
Yeah.
here. But we spent so much time. You spent so much time looking back and looking at the history. What sense do you get of what the next 100 years of Black History Month are going to look like?
You know, I asked Lenise Littleton, because, you know, she's a historian and she was just spewing out all these facts. And I'm like, what does it feel like for you when you know in this time and space that there's an administration that is dialing back from a DEI or is saying, okay, let's not focus on this part of history. What are we doing here? And her position was self-determination. She was like, you know, we may or may not teach this in school, but it doesn't, you can still pick up a book and read. You can still go to the Atlanta History Center. You can still go to our museums. You can go to the Civil Rights Museum. You can go to different places to learn this history because it's a part of American history. And these are people who help shape what we know today. And I think in the next 100 years, I'll be honest, I don't know. You know, it's...
I suspect that's what folks said 100 years ago, too, right?
Yeah, but, I mean, you're in this every day, Zach. It changes by the wind about what's happening and what's going on. And I think what we're learning, it's important to raise these stories and tell these stories. Even out of the academic, you know, setting, you still have to talk about it. Because where do things come from when you think about certain... you know, it's a... Gosh, I'm being very philosophical
No,
here.
but you are. And you talk about, you know, I'm in it. I cover
Where
the
do
political
things
world,
come from?
but you're in this too. And this is the space that you work in. You cover identity, you know, who our communities are, who we are, how we are, where we're going, where we've been. I mean, those are the kinds of conversations that make a community what it is.
Yeah, I will not lie. I spent probably more time I needed to at that laundry exhibit at Atlanta History Center because I was thinking about how do I hate doing laundry? I can't stand it. But all we do is take our clothes and throw them in a machine, right? Think back then when you had to hand wash, you were the spin cycle, you were the dryer, you hung it up, you had to do diapers. Come on. It's a lot. And these are women, these are people who started the labor movement and were like, we're not going to settle for this. And it happened right here in Atlanta, which I always think is just so significant about this city. So much happened here. And it's just remarkable, again, the self-determination to come through it and all the things that happen here. So I hope in 100 years, we can say 200, we will not be alive, I don't think, unless... You know,
I don't think so. I don't think I'm going to make it to how old I'll be in 100 years.
But I hope it's just as significant and people don't think of it as just a month. And I think that's the big message. It's just not February. It's every day. It's part of history. And I think that's what Carter Woodson was trying to say was, we're just trying to acknowledge it together, but we're part of history. It's not like a separate history. We're Americans and we're part of this history. And we're seeing that today where people see people who are Americans on the fringes of society, but they are part of society.
Can I say something too, you know, Danielle, what in your piece and in our conversation here, a thing that really jumps out to me and a thing that jumps out from good works of history in academia and other spaces too, is that you spend a lot of time talking about the washerwomen. You spend a lot of time talking about folks who maybe weren't the most famous. Obviously talking about folks as well who rose to Congress, who played these really prominent roles. But we are all part of history, whether our names are in the congressional rolls or whether we live a life that of distinction for our family. It's all part of history. As you were reporting out this piece, it feels like you really connected with that too.
Oh yeah, I love it. I mean, I love learning about things I didn't know before. So all this stuff is super new to me. And I think one part of the exhibit that they have at the Atlanta History Center, the race riots in Atlanta of 1906 or 1903, I might have the year wrong. The Atlanta Journal-Constitution, I don't know if that was their name at the time, didn't cover it. So they have an article from France. It was a French paper that covered it, and the word got back to France about what was happening here. And so they didn't even have a clipping from a local newspaper to talk about it in their archives. So I just think that those things are so fascinating, and it happened 100 years plus, but is that happening today where we're not telling the story and other people in other places are telling our story about what's happening in America?
Well, we know you are. We know you are on it, and doing this important work to continue to remind us of our history, too, and how we got here. Danielle, I want to end here because you have another piece that you're working on, I know, coming up. So tell us what we have to look forward to next from you.
Okay, so you've had a super soaker, or you ever used a super soaker?
Listen, I had a great time in 5th grade, all right? I know my way around a super soaker and a water gun.
So Dr. Lonnie Johnson, who invented it, holds the patent for it. He is a longtime Atlanta native, and we're going to talk to him today, and he's actually working on a new phase. Like, of course, if you're an inventor, an engineer, a scientist, you're always working. And he's working on sustainability. So he's trying to take the quote unquote energy waste from data centers. We've been talking a lot about data centers here.
Just yesterday, we had a long conversation with the state senator who's proposing some legislation on that topic. It's very front of mind.
Yeah, front of mind. There's waste coming off of those places, which I imagine that's what residents are upset about. Factories, he's taking that waste and wants to turn it into electricity to help the carbon footprint. This man has over 100 patents for things like putting the strip that absorbs in a diaper, we'll just say that way.
Sure.
Those things. He's done so much, and the funny thing about the super soaker is it wasn't his moneymaker. He said he did that so he could work on other things. So this was just something he was playing around with some hoses, and the water was spurting. He was like, oh, this might be fun for somebody.
It was fun for me growing up, I'll tell you that.
So I'm super excited to meet him because I'm like, that is crazy.
I'm excited to see this story when it comes out because he is such a fascinating guy. I mean, a prolific, as you said, more than 100 patents, a prolific thinker, a creative mind, a scientific mind, and looking at the nexus of creativity and technology and science. As you point out, these data centers, they are very power intensive. Data center supporters will say that, and I've talked to them, they argue that they have a financial incentive to be as efficient as possible. Some communities have pushed back on that and raised concerns. You're sitting right at the nexus of all this with an inventor trying to bridge that gap.
I had no idea because, I mean, I've seen our reporting, I've seen your reporting, everyone's reporting on data centers, and I was like, wait, he's trying to fix the problem that's coming out of this.
And he's right here in Atlanta.
And he's right here in Atlanta, and he's a NASA man, too. So I'm fascinated by that. NASA in the 70s. So a black man working in NASA on Galileo and the Mars rover. He's an extraordinary career.
You know what? I'm always in this conversation, I am by far the second most smart person in the conversation. And if he was here, I would be like the 5th smartest person in the conversation. Truly. And it's so exciting because my job is I get to listen to folks like you and listen to this interview coming up with a very smart, creative scientist right here in Atlanta.
Yeah, maybe I can bring him in. I can convince him to come in here.
You tell him he is welcome here in the streaming studio any day. And I'm sure we would have no shortage of things to talk about, like we have no shortage of things to talk about with you.
Yeah.
But we are short on time, so we are going to turn now. Danielle, thank you so much.
Thank you.
We really appreciate it. We are going to take a quick break, and we will be right back after this. And as we go to, you're taking a look. This is a live shot of the podium. The Atlanta Police Department is getting ready to deliver remarks on a sexual assault suspect. This is developing news we're following here. We have a crew on the scene. We're going to listen in as soon as this press briefing starts. So we're going to go to break right now. So when we come back, we'll be ready to go. back into the 11Alive Plus streaming center. You're looking at a live image from Atlanta Police headquarters where photojournalists, our journalists, are getting ready to listen into a press conference from APD leadership. When APD does take the podium, we're going to take you right there live. But as we await for those remarks, we're going to turn now to Chief Meteorologist Chris Holcomb, who is joining us here in the streaming studio. Chris, thanks for making the time. Yeah. And it's it's a little bit of a big day for chief meteorologists and meteorologists all across the country today.
It is a day that people can just honor us and thank us for everything, right?
That's good, yeah. We don't thank you guys enough.
Didn't you wake up this morning thinking, man, I wish I could thank a meteorologist?
I did, and you know what? One day a year. One day a year. This is my one day to say nice things to you.
And Zach's talking about today is National Weather Person's Day, and it's just a day set aside where you can just fawn over us and send us gifts and just be so thankful for us.
And you know what? And ribbing aside, if there was a month, if there was a day where it was deserved, after the last few weekends that we've had, all the weekend work that you and the rest of the team have been putting in, keeping us on top of some fairly gnarly weather that we've seen.
It is
and then you got to go through Groundhog Day on Monday, which I know gets you guys riled up. It is a well-deserved recognition of all the hard work that you do.
So because of that hard work, I took the day off on Monday to allow the groundhog to do the work for us.
That's great.
So,
work smarter.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what we say here.
No, but it was a cool day today. I actually was up earlier than normal today, went down to the state capitol, and I, along with other meteorologists here in Atlanta and the National Weather Service meteorologists here at Peachtree City that cover our whole area, we were honored with a proclamation today at the state capitol, so that was kind of cool to be there under the gold dome. And Zach, I have to tell you, I felt really old because
don't say that, Chris.
I've spent some time at the state capitol. I was a Georgia Public Television lawmaker's intern back in 1986. 1986. And when I was at the state capitol today, I was just kind of reminiscing, oh yeah, I used to walk these halls. And then I thought, it's 2026. That was 40 years ago. I was an intern. Isn't that crazy?
You know what? Time flies. Whatever you're doing, it doesn't look like 40 years has passed.
Well, anyway, so it was nice being down there. The proclamation was really kind, and it was fun being with all the other meteorologists in our area as well. So,
you know, Chris, I know we were waiting on a check on the weather. Yeah. We're going to have to take a pause on that, though, because we are going to tune in to this Atlanta Police Department press conference that is just beginning, though. Chris, thank you very much. We're going to go to APD right now.
Victim was unknown to Mr. Shabazz. And like we see in some of the video implements here, you will see Mr. Shabazz at the top left coming down. You see him walking here, coming to the video, into play here as his vehicle is leaving the area. We requested public assistance in trying to find Mr. Shabazz. He's a very dangerous person. And as you see here, he's still walking through the area. Nobody has identified him. Nobody has reached out. If you see him in the area, please call 911 or Crime Stoppers. But throughout our investigation, we determined that Mr. Shabazz, Kwame Shabazz, was involved in a public indecency case the day after. That video also would be here on the screen, and you'll just see him in the area on that public indecency. Also, Mr. Shabazz, Kwame Shabazz, was actually involved in theft of an e-bike late of last year. Throughout the investigation as well, we determined that Mr. Kwame Shabazz had current sexual assault rape warrants out of College Park. We are currently working with College Park to help apprehend Mr. Shabazz. And also he has an active probation warrant out of Fulton County. And we also work with Fulton County to help apprehend Mr. Kwame Shabazz. As you guys know, this is an ongoing investigation. A lot of details are sensitive in nature, but we just request the public's assistance in trying to get Mr. Kwame Shabazz off the streets. If you see Mr.
At this time, we're going to pause for some questions, and then we'll come back to tell you about Crime Stoppers.
How did you guys become aware of this case? Did the victim herself come forward and let you guys know that this happened?
Yes, the victim called 911 immediately after it happened. She's been very cooperative, very brave. She was able to put out a sketch for us with the GBI as well, and she was able to identify him in a lineup that conducted. So, very brave person. She came forward right away in the sexual assault, and then we commend her for what she's done, and she's actually been cooperative in the investigation as well.
Lieutenant, how does he get into the apartment? What does he say?
In this incident here, we have a witness that saw him come through. The witness was closing the door of the area. He forced his way in. She immediately called concierge, but when they looked for him, he was not there. That victim as well was very helpful in the assistance of this case as well, because she was able to pick Mr. Kwame Shabazz out in the photo lineup as well. So him going through the apartment complexes is, telling citizens to be safe. If you see anyone coming in, that don't need to be there, let us know and give us a call.
So how did he get into the victim's apartment?
The victim, he was forced away, and she was out in the hallway taking her trash out. When she went into that, he forced his way in.
Had he been at this apartment complex before and kind of gotten to know the area of the apartment complex?
We're still investigating that, see how he known how the area works. Just by the way he's walking around, he's maybe familiar with a lot of the area.
Can you tell us a little more about the public indecency case the next day?
The next day we had a 911 call in the 2200 block of Piedmont, where a young lady witnessed him expose himself. She called 911. She was also very helpful in identifying him as well. So my investigator was able to put everything together and get warrants for him for the public indecency as well.
So that's going to be a misdemeanor?
That one is yes.
Can you talk about the usage of cameras and people submitting their camera footage, if they have any, to the Atlanta Police Department?
Yes, ma'am. If you've seen him any video footage in that area of 2200 block of Piedmont, 700 block of Cosmopolitan, please give us a call. We are still collecting evidence in this case, and that anything helpful would be very helpful in the investigation. If you have a Ring camera and you go back to that date, please look it up, please forward it to us. Call Crime Stoppers, give us a call, call 911, and the investigators will actually come out and help you guys out.
In case he's watching, what will be your message to him?
Turn yourself in. Turn yourself in. We are looking for you. We are going to apprehend you. Turn yourself in. There's no way you can run. The citizens of Atlanta is very helpful in investigations. If they see you out there, they will call. So for you, please turn yourself in to make everything run a lot smoother and give closure to the victim.
What can we apartment dwellers do to protect ourselves better, or anyone in general in our home?
Be aware of surroundings. Array your surroundings. If you don't have cameras, a Ring camera helps out. But be aware of surroundings. The victims and witnesses in this case, they provided cameras. So those cameras will help in an investigation. If we had no cameras, we don't know where everybody is. If we had no cameras, we cannot track suspects. So cameras are very helpful. And check the quality of your cameras. You can actually import your cameras to the city of Atlanta. So we have ways we can communicate with the citizens to make sure everything we can work collectively together to solve this crime and many others.
Can you talk a little bit about the incident in College Park as well?
That is an ongoing investigation with College Park. I can't speak on the investigation. We notified them that it was actually, the same suspect that they're having, and then the sexual assault that had occurred in College Park. Don't know the details of sexual assault. That would be an investigation that we can.
So when does he become a serial rapist?
The serial rapist is going to be. Right now, we're going to believe he would be. He has the two. We don't want him to do any more. We don't want to put a number on it. He has two victims that he do not know. We don't want to put a number on a serial, whatever it may be. One rape is too many. Two rapes is a lot. So we don't want to continue on. One rape to me can be a serial rapist, I'm sorry. It's too many. You're violating someone's body, so we don't want to put a number on that. So we cannot put, I don't want to go that with the serial.
Point to the part, talk more about how he doesn't know these people and why that sticks out to you.
It's very important. It's just when you have someone that's preying on our victims, it's very important. It sticks out because you don't know who you are. It's not an acquaintance that we met. It's someone that you just do not know. So that's very important, is to know your surroundings. If it's somebody you don't know, and then you question, you question it, you call for assistance, you get security, you get someone to help, you call 911.
Okay, last question.
Are there any specific areas that he's known to frequent?
At this point, we feel that he's unhoused, unsheltered, so that's from place to place. These crimes did commit in the same area in North Atlanta, Piedmont area, Cosmopolitan area, but Atlanta, city of Atlanta.
All right. Thank you, everyone. We'll provide this information that you see on the screen. It will be on our website. So there you can pull that particular video. And again, if anyone has any information or any tips, Crime Stoppers, 404-577-TIPS. Thank you.
Can y'all keep the video running for just a minute?
We'll keep it running. We'll look at it.
We were just listening in to that press conference from the Atlanta Police Department naming a suspect in what they describe as two sexual assault cases where the victims were unknown to the suspect. The suspect identified as a Kwame Shabazz. Authorities asking for assistance, asking for the public to report any information they have on this suspect, again identified by the Atlanta Police Department. Folks asked to call Crime Stoppers. That number, 404-577-TIPS. That's 404-577-8477. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back after this. Welcome back into the 11Alive Plus Streaming Center. I'm Zach Merchant. As we approach 3:15 on your Thursday afternoon, we are going to be joined right now by Dr. Jennifer Kim with Georgia Tech. Dr. Kim, can you hear us okay?
Yes.
Excellent. Thanks for being
Hi,
with us. I understand that some of your work is focused on AI job coaching for neurodivergent job seekers. Let's start at a 30,000-foot view. Can you tell us what your work entails?
That's right. The goal of our project is to support autistic individuals to have more access to strength-based job coaching. So we are going to use a large language model to help autistic people better identify their strengths and help them apply their strengths in their everyday work situations.
Dr. Kim, how specifically does the large language model help somebody in that situation?
Yeah, that's a great question. So how we are going to do this, we are going to train a large language model with a data set using autistic individual strengths, and then how they can apply these strengths in specific work situations. And how individuals can use our chatbot is that when they search for a job, for example, then our large language model will ask about their strengths and what they're good at, and then our chatbot will suggest them how they can use their strengths to better communicate skills and strengths to a job that they are going to apply for.
So this chatbot, it's not doing the interview, taking their initial interviews for an applicant, but it is helping them get ready for those first rounds of a job application.
That's correct.
For people, Dr. Kim, who maybe are not so familiar with what a large language model is. Can you try to describe for our audience how it works and what they are?
Yes. So, for example, you can imagine a kind of chatbot like ChatGPT that can be accessible in everyday lives. So, how this chatbot works is large language model works. It learns all the data on the internet, and then whenever a user asks question about something else to a chatbot, then from this large language model based on the information on the internet, this large language model provides a personalized response to this individual.
And Dr. Kim, it is no secret that the job market right now can be challenging for some job seekers. You've talked about, how applicants can handle rejection, maintain their confidence, keep moving forward. What do job applicants, and specifically neurodivergent job applicants, tell you and your colleagues as you're working on this project?
That's a really great question. So it's hard for everyone to get all this rejection, but especially autistic individuals and neurodivergent individuals, they also really feel having hard time about all these rejections. But what they're really excited about our work is we help them focus on their strengths in the time of this, struggle time. So they're really excited about our work because our work can help them apply their strengths, even though in the rejection time they can still have a hope that I can do it.
And Dr. Kim, for somebody who is autistic and entering the job market, for family, loved ones, employers who are looking for new employees, what would you say to them? How do they get involved? How do they tap into the resources that you and your team are putting together?
Great question. I personally have a brother with autism, so I'm really excited about this work. And if you are looking for a job and you are a neurodivergent individuals, we are going to have this first prototype at the end of this year. And then we will try to help you focus on your strengths, what worked for you before. So we will help you to find out, how you can apply those strengths in your job application process. And if you are an employer who can hire autistic individuals or neurodivergent individuals, please keep in mind that these individuals have a lot of strengths that you guys value. So it's just one step that we can help them and make an environment they can apply their strengths in this workplace situation.
This is a project that is really close to your heart.
Yes.
I'm sure you've discussed with your family, what do you tell your family? What do you tell your brother about the project you're working on?
So I talked to my brother about I've had a great time with you, and I've seen great strengths in you, and that's how it motivated me to conduct this research and conduct this work. So hopefully, if we can find something works, and then we can also help more people to benefit from this kind of work.
Dr. Jennifer Kim with Georgia Tech, thank you very much for your time and for your work.
Thank you.
We're going to take a quick break right now. We'll be right back with Chief Meteorologist Chris Holcomb right after this. You know, it can be said that there is one kind of news that impacts all of us every day, and that's the weather. And today is National Weather Person's Day. Our friends, including Chief Meteorologist Chris Holcomb,
in Georgia, severe
were
weather is not
honored
theoretical.
at the state capitol.
Tornadoes, floods,
This is a little bit
extreme
of
heat, and
that
powerful
ceremony
storms
today. I
affect
think we can
every
hear it.
part
Let's
of our
listen in for
region,
just a
whether you're urban, rural, coastal, and inland. I begin by recognizing the dedicated professionals at the National Weather Service, and they work in close partnership with our local weather persons who are in the gallery today. Teams from WSB, Atlanta News First, Fox 5, WXIA, 11Alive, CBS Atlanta, CNN. With those weather people, our national people that keep us going every day, stand up and let us love on you and welcome you. It's been a tough month, so we salute you. They'll join us in the ante room for some pictures. We've got the chief
that's what we like to see.
Thank you guys for being at the People's
let us
House.
all
We
love
love you.
our weather persons a little bit today, because you guys do deserve it. Chris Holcomb, Chief Meteorologist, joining us now. That felt good, I bet.
It was cool. We were all up in the gallery, sitting there watching and listening to everything that the representative had to say. So it was kind of fun, and we all got to visit with each other, and it was nice.
And deserved too. I think the representative there made a good point that we all, we've been watching the weather even more closely than usual these last couple weeks.
And this comes at a good time because we're all now kind of taking a little break, taking a breath a little bit. There's always weather to watch, but at least nothing like what we were dealing with last week.
And I do know too, it's Preparedness Week as well, right?
It is. It's Severe Weather Awareness Week and Preparedness Week, where we want to make sure people know that severe weather can happen here in Georgia at any time. As you know, we can have severe storms in the middle of wintertime, in December, in January. That has happened before. But the most likely time for severe weather to happen are the springtime months, the months of March, April, and May. That's when severe weather is most likely. That's when tornadoes are most likely. So we set aside this part of the year just to get people ready and just let people be aware. Hey guys, we always need to be aware of this, but especially now, make sure that you have a plan in case severe weather ever happens in your area.
Look, if you live in Georgia, if you live in Metro Atlanta, you know that, right?
Yeah.
We've all seen it. We've all been through it. Getting ready now, making a plan. There's a reason you guys remind us of that. It really does make a difference. Chris, we should take a look too at the forecast today. Thankfully, nothing severe on our radar right now.
Yes, it is nice. Even though we're going to be entering into a drier pattern here, really for the next multiple days, we're not really seeing any rain that'll be moving our way, no severe weather threat, but we are going to see really a change in those temperatures kind of going up and down here over the next few days. So that's going to be the main thing we're tracking for. You can see those clouds that we had earlier today. Those have been moving out. We even had a few snowflakes in some spots of North Georgia. When I was driving down to the Capitol earlier from Gwinnett County, that was at about, 8 o'clock this morning. There were a few
That is early
little,
for you.
yeah, it really is.
'Cause you're working the late shift.
There are a few little snow grains that were kind of bouncing on the windshield there. But again, it didn't cause any problems. Nothing else is really moving our way. We'll have a few of those clouds around tonight. Doesn't that look great? After the cloudy sky this morning, we're now seeing more blue sky.
That's the first, I think that's the first fully clear shot of any Atlanta skyline. The King and Queen building there, looking good.
Nice to see that sunshine out there. This is our view of downtown right now, where we have the blue sky and sunshine, and that sun is really helping to warm things up a little bit. Excuse me, this is our view from Arizona Avenue there, right on the DeKalb-Fulton County line, looking westward toward the city. A little bit of a haze there that we're seeing too, but things are looking really nice. Now, it is on the chilly side, though. We started off this morning with temperatures in the 30s. With that sun, we're beginning to rebound a little bit. We're still in the mid-40s right now. Look down south in Covington, or to the south and east of us, 39 degrees. That's because they have more cloud cover, not as much sunshine. Same thing in Gainesville, where it's 39. But to the west of us, where we've seen more of that sun break through, like look at Rome right now, it is 47 degrees. So that sun's really helping to warm things up a bit. Now, through the rest of the evening hours, though, tonight, the rest of the afternoon and into the evening, it's going to start cooling down again. The sun goes down around 6:13 tonight. If you notice, the sun's setting a little bit later, so that's a good thing. But it'll be going down around 6:30, and then those temperatures fall back into the 30s. I do think we'll get to around freezing overnight tonight and into tomorrow morning. So here's what we're going to be watching tomorrow. How about a little bit of a warm-up? We're going to be chilly out there tonight, and also tomorrow morning, right around freezing to start the day. And then once we get to around lunchtime, look at that. How about 50 degrees and more sunshine? And then we get up to around 59, Some areas even up to 60 degrees tomorrow. That will feel nice, but don't get used to that because look what happens on Saturday. It gets cold again. We're around 30, lower 30s in the morning. And then it's going to be slower to warm here on Saturday afternoon, only in the 40s again for those high temperatures. So it is going to be another rather chilly day. So let's end up with the 7-day forecast here. We're at 59 tomorrow, and then Saturday, I've got 50 for a high. Then Sunday, we're back up to 58. And then look at next week. Not only 60s, we're talking about near 70 degrees on Tuesday. That is going to be a nice rebound compared to what we've been dealing with here. And then we do see some rain chances coming in by the end of the week. We're talking 30 to 20% chance for some showers going toward the end of the week as we start cooling. If you want to call 64 cooling back down, but when it goes from 69 down to 64, yeah, that's about 5
we'll
degrees
take
cooler.
that.
Yeah.
And it feels like, Chris, too, getting a little closer to what this time of year tends to feel like. Chilly in the morning.
Yeah.
By the afternoon, you can maybe take off the top layer of your coat and
Yeah.
just wear a vest or something. Definitely warmer than we have seen the last couple
Goodness,
weekends.
yes. And, average high for this time of year is around 54, 55 degrees. So we're getting back to where we should be. But just know we've got a couple of ups and downs to deal with, though, through the weekend. Saturday's, tomorrow warms up. Saturday's going to be chilly. And then there's that slow warming trend again going into next week.
You know what? I think we will take average after what we have been through.
Average sounds good.
Average
after
sounds
those
good.
days where we never even made it up above freezing with snow and ice on the ground, we'll take it.
And you know what? People say, who are not from the South, they say Southerners can't handle the cold weather. And you know what we did? Handled it.
We handled it, but we're here for a reason because we don't like
I'm not saying
to
we
handle
like it, but you know what? We
don't
can
like
get
to
through it.
handle
If
the
anybody's
cold weather.
watching, my friends back in New England, we can do it here too.
We can.
Thanks to Chris Holcomb and the rest of our team and all of the great weather persons who keep us safe.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Chris. We appreciate it. Let's turn now to Athens, Clark County. You are looking live inside of Clark County Superior Court. This is day 4 of the cold case murder trial in the case of the killing of Tara Baker, who is a 23-year-old University of Georgia law student. She was killed in 2001. Prosecutors for decades had the case go cold, but that does not mean they were not investigating, that law enforcement was not investigating. Prosecutors have now brought charges. They have charged Adric Faust with murder in this case. Faust has pleaded not guilty. Jurors are on day 4 of hearing testimony. You're looking at what looks like a shot of the ceiling right now. That typically means there's something happening in the courtroom that a judge has asked not be shown on camera. That's typically a bench conference or something of the like, where attorneys will approach the bench and have a sort of side conversation that the jurors don't hear. Typically, they ask the pool camera, which is what you're seeing here, to turn away as well. Sometimes this also happens if somebody perhaps is a victim's on the stand or somebody underage. There can be a number of circumstances, but that's why you're seeing the ceiling. We're going to continue to follow all that happens inside the courtroom here. We're going to take a quick break after this. Welcome back as we continue to track this quickly moving, quickly developing political cycle here in Georgia as we get into the heart of primary season, into the start of the heart anyway, of 2026's midterm elections. We're going to bring in Faith Jesse, my co-anchor on the Georgia Vote. Faith, we talked to you yesterday, I think. It's going so fast. You sat down with Senator Raphael Warnock, one of our two U.S. senators, a Democrat. Today, you have talked to his colleague, fellow Democrat, Senator Jon Ossoff.
The Senate gods are in our favor this week, Zach. You know it's hard to get FaceTime with these guys sometimes.
Well, you know what? You have a knack for it, and it's good because anytime we get a chance, anytime our audience gets a chance to hear from the two U.S. senators who represent all of us in Georgia, it is time well spent. What stood out to you from your conversation today with Senator Ossoff, who we should point out is up for re-election in November?
That's right. So the first topic I want to point out is one that we spoke to Senator Warnock about yesterday, and that is the FBI raid and/or some people are calling it the search warrants that were executed at the the Fulton County Elections Facility. So the senator, he's saying that this is something that the president is obsessed with. He says that it is a conspiracy theory that the president just cannot let go of. He also mentioned, I asked him about, his opponents. There's three notable candidates that are vying to unseat him on the Republican side. That's Buddy Carter, Derek Dooley, as well as Mike Collins. Mike Collins and Buddy Carter, of course, both congressmen. And we've heard from at least Collins and Carter on this, supporting this surge, saying that the truth needs to come out. Carter saying that the election was stolen, really doubling down on that. I do want to play a piece of our conversation about his thoughts on all of this. Take a listen.
So I think that my opponents in this Senate race need to answer a very simple question. Do they accept that Joe Biden won the presidential election in 2020? Or are they going to join the ranks of these extreme conspiracy theorists in order to curry favor with Donald Trump?
Senator Ossoff, I know that I heard back from at least one of your opponents, Buddy Carter, who says that, doubling down, that there was fraud in the 2020 election. I spoke with Congressman Collins last week when this happened and asked him about this. He said he wants the truth to come out of this. We have not heard from candidate Derek Dooley, but there are people who truly feel that there are still unanswered questions here, at least Mr. Carter and Mr. Collins saying that what's the harm in searching this again? What's your response to them?
Well, 3 recounts and countless audits later, Donald Trump continues to peddle these conspiracy theories, the same theories that led to the January 6th riot at the Capitol when a violent mob was trying to hunt down the Speaker of the House and the Vice President to attack them, based in large part on Donald Trump's conspiracy theories about Georgia. He just can't let it go. He's obsessed, still 6 years later, with everything we face as a country, with health insurance premiums skyrocketing, tariffs driving costs through the roof. He is spending his time and using federal law enforcement to chase these conspiracy theories from the 2020 election. And it sounds like my opponents are unwilling to break with him and are choosing to pander to the president's obsessions rather than to tell the truth.
And as you heard there in that conversation, Faith, and as you asked, there were a number of recounts and court cases, legal challenges. None uncovered fraud or irregularities to the level that would have tipped the result of Georgia's 2020 presidential election.
11,780.
It was a very narrow result in that race, and a pivotal one that helped propel one of the key swing states that helped propel Joe Biden to the White House, to the presidency. What else stood out to you in your conversation with the senator as he is tracking all of this? The Republicans right now are in a pretty heated battle going into the May primary. President Trump has not endorsed anyone yet in the Republican primary. The senator, he's going to get the Democratic endorsement. I mean, he's going to be watching until the November general starts up, but he's watching this closely.
That's right. He's not sitting back, but he does not have a competitor, a notable competitor in the primary. He could have a competitor, but he will likely be the nominee. He is looking at this. What I'm getting from him is that he sees these candidates, at least Mike Collins and Buddy Carter, he said it in his words, pandering to the American people, pandering to try to get Donald Trump's endorsement in this race and not caring about the American people. Those are his words coming out of this. The campaign, it's going to be hot, Zach. It's going to be fierce. A lot of money in it. At last check, he has raised the most out of any Senate candidate, I think out of any candidate running for office right now. A lot of money in this race. The other candidates also, those numbers just came out, and we'll talk about them later on the show. But because of this, you're going to start seeing attacks. And I asked him about a statement that RNC spokeswoman Emma Hall sent out, talking about money that was given to him by Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who, of course, is his colleague in Congress. And she is seen as a progressive. People say that Jon Ossoff is trying to paint himself as a moderate to appeal to those Georgia voters, maybe those independents that are not necessarily as liberal or as progressive. Emma Hall wrote in a statement, "You can't accept campaign donations from a socialist and then sell yourself as a moderate to voters. Jon Ossoff isn't fooling anyone. He's with AOC and the far left, not Georgians." I asked him what his response is to this. This is what he had to say.
I expect all of the usual partisan attacks over the next 9 months. Here's what I'm hearing from my constituents. I'm hearing from a 60-year-old woman who waits tables in the middle of a cancer fight, who is losing her health insurance in the middle of chemotherapy because Donald Trump and Republicans in Congress refused to extend Affordable Care Act tax credits. I'm hearing from small businesses getting crushed by these tariffs. I'm hearing from folks in every part of our state dealing with higher and higher prices because of these chaotic trade wars. Georgia farmers are in distress because of these trade wars. But instead of solving those problems, what this president is doing is threatening to invade Greenland, sending federal agents and the national spy chief to raid ballots in Fulton County. I think this administration is careening out of control from Minneapolis, Minnesota to Fulton County, Georgia. And it speaks to the need for real checks and balances in Washington to constrain an out-of-control president.
Over there, Faith, talk about the issue of affordability. That has been an issue that Republicans and Democrats are trying to plant their flag in. In fairness, and I'm sure you addressed this, in fairness, Republicans have a different look at that ACA debate. They have, and I know this, you've gotten these statements too, some Republicans have charged that Democratic senators who they would blame for the government shutdown, Democrats would blame Republicans, but they have argued that the shutdown led to affordability issues for some people who didn't get a federal paycheck while the shutdown was on towards the end of last year. This is going to be a driving issue in this Senate race. Did he say anything on that, and what else stood out to you in your conversation?
Yeah, I mean, I think the affordability argument is something that everybody's making federally, like at his level in Congress as well as statewide. And he and all Democrats, they have their way of getting to it, and Republicans have their way of getting to it, right? But overall, people want to make sure that you have money in your pockets to do the right thing. I will say one other thing that stood out, and we didn't pull a soundbite. You can catch it on later editions of 11Alive today. We did talk about the issue with ICE. There is a detention center that is being proposed in Social Circle, Georgia. He did a joint statement with the mayor of Social Circle saying that, calling on the Trump administration to abandon this plan. You're going to hear from Grace King in a bit on what the developments of Social Circle. But in regards to ICE, the senator, he signed the Lake and Riley Act with Raphael Warnock. Within that Lake and Riley Act, this was something that was really authored by Republican Congressman Mike Collins.
And Senate rival now.
And Senate rival now. And it was after that devastating loss of the nursing student on UGA's campus. And within the verbiage of that bill, it gives authorities the power to arrest undocumented immigrants who are who commit crimes, whether that be a very small misdemeanor crime or a felony crime. And he and Senator Warnock signed that. He says that he supports tightening the border. He supports security. He does not believe that violent criminals should be in the country. But he was also extremely staunch about we should not be killing Americans. We should not have masked officers on the streets barging into Americans' homes, taking Americans from their homes. And so, once again, we are going to play more of that on later editions of 11Alive News. Of course, we will have this whole conversation on 11Alive Plus right here, and streaming here for you all to go and watch that. But it's a moderate stance, I would say, in my opinion.
And a lot of people would. I know that many Republicans would take a different tack on that too. And that's the thing, in the law, we talk about jurors are the best and final fact finder, and in elections too, right? Voters are the ones who listen to all of this, listen to this great reporting and these interviews, and they're going to make those calls both in the primary and in November. You talk about the immigration conversation, the conversation about, I know the senator has been vocally opposed to masked federal immigration agents. We've seen a real flashpoint in Minneapolis, Operation Metro Surge, that Border Czar Tom Homan just yesterday or maybe the day before said about 700 federal immigration agents are now leaving Minnesota, but there are about 3,000, so still a big presence there.
And I will say on Nightly News with Tom Llamas, his exclusive interview with President Trump, you even saw a softening in his tone, saying that he did not think, he was not proud of the killings, I believe. Were
The
his
president,
words.
he
The
said,
president said that he was
maybe
not,
adopt a more softer touch.
Softer touch to this. So it's interesting to see, the language. Also, I think President Trump said we have a PR issue, saying that we're doing a really good job. His administration is doing a really good job, but his PR people aren't able to articulate that correctly. So take that for what you will. But we are seeing a change in dialect from the president, from his administration on this. Will we see that? That's the big question, though. If this detainment facility comes to Georgia, to Social Circle, will you have what we saw in Minnesota in Georgia?
And last question for you here, Faith. Democrats have in the Senate, and Chuck Schumer, the minority leader, talked about this earlier. DHS funding has been approved, the Department of Homeland Security, that is the umbrella agency above ICE and other federal immigration efforts. Their funding was extended in this federal funding package that ended the partial shutdown, but only for 2 weeks.
Temporarily.
A 2-week window for legislators like Senator Ossoff, Senator Warnock, Congressman Collins and Carter, everybody else, to find a way forward on policies, procedures, and funding levels for DHS. Have you gotten any indication of where those negotiations are right now? I know it's early.
Personally, I have not. I can, read the tea leaves like you're
Sure.
reading. But I would say perhaps that's why we're seeing the softening tone from the president. Perhaps this is why they are taking a different approach on enforcement, focusing on those who are not here in the country legally, those undocumented people, and not Americans. I think that what you're hearing from the senator here is that he don't touch Americans. Why are you touching Americans? You said that you're coming in to arrest people who are in the country making crimes and they're not supposed to be here legally. Why are you arresting Americans? Why are you killing Americans? So if we see that verbiage change, potentially you could see some compromise or negotiation, but you'd have to ask the senators that, and I'll ask them that next time.
And I know there will be another conversation. We're talking about the Americans who were harmed, who were killed. Alex Preddy and Renee Good, two protesters in Minneapolis, fatally shot by federal immigration agents in the span of a couple weeks. Always a lot to keep track of, Faith. We know you're going to stay on top of it.
And you will too. Our phones are ringing off the hook.
It's a team effort here. And all of you who follow along and watch and ask great questions too, we are grateful for all of you. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back after this. Welcome back into the 11Alive Plus streaming center as we approach 3:50 on Thursday afternoon. You just heard in our conversation with our Faith Jessie following her interview with Democratic U.S. Senator John Ossoff about this issue ongoing in the city of Social Circle. There is a proposed ICE facility in that city. City leaders have argued against it, arguing that it could exacerbate infrastructure issues in the city. You're looking at images right now of what we believe to be the facility at the heart of this conversation. It is a large facility, and just recently, in a statement, the city of Social Circle relayed that it has become increasingly apparent that it is likely that this facility will move forward and the Department of Homeland Security will be moving forward with its purchase of that facility. But there are a lot of details that we're tracking here. So let's bring in our Grace King, who has been following the story since, I want to say December, right?
Yeah.
Where do things stand right now?
Well, according to the city manager of Social Circle, they spoke with Congressman Mike Collins yesterday, and he said this facility is moving forward. The funds are in escrow. They plan to close soon, and it could open as soon as April. So as far as Social Circle is concerned, pretty much everything's moving forward. The catch is they have not heard from anyone in the federal government, aside from obviously their elected officials. They have not heard from ICE, they have not heard from DHS, and they haven't heard anything official. They haven't heard from the property owner, but Congressman Collins, he apparently told them, you know, this is moving forward. There's not much you can do to stop it at this point.
And this was a facility, that warehouse, that was on the market. It was privately held and it was up for sale, and DHS, it appears, is trying to buy this piece of private property, right?
It was for sale, it was privately owned, but it goes back to a while ago when the city kind of approved the zoning for this warehouse. They approved the construction of this warehouse with the hope that they would get a lot of tax revenue back. You know, there was some involvement on the city's part helping fund it, helping fund sewer infrastructure upgrades, water upgrades, all in hopes that they would get that return on their money. The biggest catch is the federal government typically doesn't have to pay taxes on properties like that. So they, at least from the city's perspective, what could have been a huge revenue boost from them if they had, say, a Rivian or some kind of business client there.
A private entity.
A private entity, they would get a lot of tax dollars back from that, but from their perspective, the federal government wouldn't have to pay that tax revenue, so they could get shorted a lot of money on a project that they, you know, kind of funded with that promise to the people that if you let this come, we can fund sewer upgrades, we can fund schools, we can fund this, and now they're really worried that they're not going to have this money that they were kind of banking on from whoever that future tenant would be.
Do you have a sense of what ICE, what the Department of Homeland Security, what the federal government intends to do with the facility? How do they want to use it?
We don't totally know that yet. There was a Washington Post report in December. That's how the city of Social Circle even learned about this facility in the first place. And that Washington Post report, it said that ICE was looking to bring in some processing centers, some small-scale ones in nearby cities, and then they were looking at building a 5,000 to 10,000 bed detention facility to house people before deportation, or just keep them there in Social Circle. So as far as they know, it's going to be a detention facility, so it's not something where people are being processed in and out quickly. But for context, the city of Social Circle has about 5,000 people. Bringing a 10,000 bed detention facility would triple the city's population overnight.
And I think this is from your report last month, or now 2 months ago in December, but you spoke with Social Circle Mayor David Keener, right? You talk about this infrastructure and population size issue. I want to read a quote from your report. He told you, this is a quote from Social Circle Mayor David Keener, "If you put that many people here, you obviously will have to house other support facilities alongside it." He went on to say, "We would have to have more police officers. The sheriff's department would probably have to help us with that. Basically, citizens of Social Circle do not want this. Our city council opposes this as well." Is that still the sentiment there?
That is, and I spoke with City Manager Eric Taylor today. He expressed those same concerns, but he also said that Collins' office told him they could employ up to 2,500 people at this facility, including detention officers, everyone else. But he's saying, you know, the hospitals are already overrun. They don't have medical staff to spare for this facility. Their sheriff's office, very slim. Their police department, I think, either has 10 or 15 people. If you take, you know, 3 of those to go to the ICE facility that's down the street, they don't know how much it's going to pay. Any resources you take away from the city in terms of jobs would greatly, greatly hurt them. And he's just worried that they don't have the employees ready and able to work in Social Circle, and that it would pull away from their safety infrastructure. Their water and sewer, they have a lot of upgrades underway. It can barely handle the city of Social Circle now. It's not sure if they're going to bring in their own sewer system, water system, anything like that. Again, they haven't heard from ICE or DHS about what these plans would look like, but the bottom line is they don't have the people, they don't have the infrastructure, and they just don't know how they could support something like this.
That's the official side of things, the city manager and the mayor. Have you gotten a sense of how residents feel about this?
Yeah, I mean, I did the math last time we went to a town hall, and it was like 1 of every 50 people in Social Circle showed up to this town hall, which, again, it's only population 5,000. It's not that many people, but when you look at a town hall for a proposed project, you never see 1 in 50 people in the entire city come out. And it was all in opposition. I spoke with one woman today, and she said, regardless of your political beliefs, everyone's kind of united that this is not the right spot. You might support the work ICE is doing, you might not support the work ICE is doing, but everyone's kind of in agreement that it does not belong in a city of that size because they just don't have the infrastructure to support it.
And you talk about that infrastructure conversation, and also, as this resident said, some people support the federal immigration enhanced efforts. Some people oppose it, and there has been reporting of troubling conditions inside of some immigration detention facilities with issues of overcrowding and other similar issues. And this may be a question you didn't get an answer to, but I wonder, has anybody in Social Circle expressed, okay, they obviously don't want it there, where they think a facility like this would be more appropriate, if anywhere?
None of the official people in Social Circle suggested it. At the town hall, there was a lot of suggestions. People were throwing out, the abandoned biolab in Conyers. They were saying, maybe put it there. There's some warehouse space. There's some sites that were supposed to be Walmarts that never really came through. They were just kind of throwing out anywhere, not necessarily for infrastructure reasons. It was just kind of a not in my backyard, but in the sense that, again, they just don't have the infrastructure. All these conversations, everyone I've spoken to in Social Circle, it hasn't been political. It is just very much, you could bring any kind of facility that would house that many people and they wouldn't want it just because of the people.
And it's a small community.
Yeah. I mean, they're saying, the hospitals are so far away. I think it's like 30 minutes one direction, 20 minutes one direction. If any medical emergency was to happen there, it would take a while to get there. It would overburden their hospitals. If you have even 5 medical calls a day in a facility of 10,000 people, isn't that much? But for a community of that size that's not used to it, that would just drastically add to it. So, I mean, again, everyone I've spoken to, they've really, and I think that's part of their messaging too, is they're not trying to get into the politics of it. They're just saying, this is not the right spot. We don't know where it is. We've thrown out some wild suggestions here and there, but just not there.
Grace King, we know you're going to stay on top of this. Thank you.
Of course.
Let's turn now to a story that we have been following all day here on 11Alive and on 11Alive Plus, and a tough story out of DeKalb County. 4 people killed in an overnight fire. Our Ariana Manise has the latest details.
DeKalb County Fire says by the time crews arrived to this home, it was already fully engulfed in flames. I spoke to family who struggled to find the words to describe how they were feeling, learning